Alrighty, welcome to the video where we're going to be discussing what to do, like what is the best strategy to improve your PCOS if you have insulin resistant PCOS. Now, insulin resistant PCOS is by far the most common type of PCOS, where around 7 out of 10 women with PCOS will have insulin resistant PCOS. And how you will know if you have insulin resistant PCOS is very simple. Do you have insulin resistance or not? If you don't, then you'll have one of the other 3 types of PCOS. If you do have insulin resistance, then you're going to have insulin resistant PCOS. So if you don't at the moment know if you have insulin resistance or not, you just have to ask your doctor to get some blood tests done. You'll either get a fasting insulin test done or a glucose challenge test done, and they will be able to diagnose you with insulin resistance or not. But as I said, 7 out of 10 women with PCOS will have insulin resistance. So how insulin resistance triggers PCOS, and when we're talking about types of PCOS, I'm simply referring to what is the core underlying reason or driver of your PCOS. So as I mentioned, there's 4. So insulin resistant is by far the most common, but then there's also inflammation, so inflammatory PCOS, post-pill PCOS, so coming off the pill, and also stress, so adrenal PCOS. But the way that insulin resistance triggers and exacerbates your PCOS symptoms are by these 3 causes. So number 1, insulin, so high insulin levels causes your ovaries to overproduce testosterone. So all women naturally produce testosterone, but chronically high levels of insulin will cause your ovaries to produce too much testosterone. The second way is insulin produces too much luteinizing hormone. So luteinizing hormone is a pituitary hormone, so a brain hormone that your brain sends down to your ovaries, and normally it sends it down to promote ovulation. So it sends it down in a surge to promote ovulation, but when we have too much insulin in our system, luteinizing hormone levels are chronically elevated. That's what causes irregular cycles, anovulatory cycles, fertility issues. And luteinizing hormone, too much luteinizing hormone, also causes too many androgen hormones. And then the third way is it lowers levels of sex hormone binding globulin levels. That is a protein in your bloodstream that attaches itself to testosterone to make it inactive. So when you have less SHBG levels, you will have more active testosterone, free testosterone. So they're the 3 ways insulin resistance really drives your PCOS symptoms. And the symptoms of insulin resistant PCOS will generally be irregular cycles, fertility issues, poor mood, so depression, anxiety, and just mood disorders in general, poor sleep. So insulin resistance is directly related to sleep issues in PCOS, sleep apnea, insomnia, poor energy levels, I'll explain that in a little bit, weight gain, and acne. So these are all the symptoms being driven by this androgen excess and insulin being driven by insulin resistance. Now, if you have insulin resistant, you don't have to be overweight, but more likely you're going to be overweight and you're going to struggle with your weight, struggle to lose weight. So you'll know this better than I do. Most doctors will tell you to just lose weight. Now, there's a big problem in this piece of advice, and the big problem is losing weight is a result, right? So as we all know, how does someone lose weight? Well, they have to eat well, they have to exercise. So those 2 things are behaviors, eating well and exercising. Losing weight is the result of that. But with insulin resistance PCOS, how you eat, how you exercise, and all of these other factors are what you're going to have to focus on. If you're not eating specifically to lose weight with insulin resistant PCOS, you're not going to lose weight. If you're not working out specifically for insulin resistant PCOS, you're not going to lose weight. If you're not focusing on all the other aspects, you're not going to lose weight. So when you're told to just go and lose weight, you'll probably just do what your best friend is doing, or you see on the news, or you see on these magazines. But they're not specific advices for insulin resistant PCOS. So you try and lose weight and you might lose a little bit of weight, or you might lose no weight, or you might lose some weight, but then as soon as you stop, you gain it all back because your strategy for losing weight is not specific to what your needs are. You have to understand how important to losing weight, to getting healthy, to your PCOS, because this isn't just about losing weight. Your hormones, your metabolism, your immune system, your mood, your energy, your sleep, all of these things are so important. That's why you have to take a holistic approach to improving your insulin resistance, and losing weight is not it. It may be part of it, but it's going to maybe be a result, not what you need to focus on, right? So the goal, what your goal is, it's not to focus on losing weight. That will be a result of what we're going to be doing. Your goal is to improve your insulin sensitivity. Insulin sensitivity is just the opposite of insulin resistance. Let me explain. So let's say this is your bloodstream, and G stands for blood sugar, glucose, right? And these little bumps here are the cells of your body. So those cells need the nutrients and the energy you eat. You know, it's not like we just eat food here and it comes out the other end. Our body needs it, it utilizes it, needs it to function. So generally what happens is once you eat something, right, blood glucose, your blood sugar levels will start to rise because your body's digesting that food. And in response to that, your pancreas will release insulin. So here in I, insulin will attach itself to this glucose and then shuttle it into the cells that need it. Now, what happens in insulin resistance, though, is that these cell doors become locked. So now insulin cannot do its job. So now the blood is flooded with insulin and glucose. This is what's called hyperinsulinemia, too much insulin. Now, a few things happen from this. Number one, these cells are now starving, and that's why women with PCOS have energy issues, because it's these cells that actually need the energy. So now, because these cells are starving, even though you're eating normally, these cells send signals to your brain that you're tired. We have no energy here, so reduce your energy levels. It's also why, because they're starving, they'll also send signals to the brain to increase hunger and increase craving. So if you suffer from hunger, cravings, and poor energy, it's all related back to this insulin resistance. But what insulin sensitivity is when these cell doors start working again. We open them up, the lock starts working, and that means insulin can do its job. The glucose gets into the cell, there's normal levels of glucose and insulin in the blood, you're getting the energy and the nutrients you need, so your energy starts improving, your sleep starts improving, your hunger and cravings go down because your body is actually being fed properly. So then, how do we do that? How do we improve our insulin sensitivity? And it's going to be through these 4 steps. So I want you to focus on these 4 behaviors and not just purely focus on losing weight. As I mentioned, losing weight is going to be a result of doing this. So these 4 things: diet, exercise, sleep, supplementation. So diet, we're looking at low GI, low carb diet. So why we're having a low carb diet is, remember that this is blood sugar. So if we're having a diet high in carbohydrates, there's going to be a lot of these little G's in here, a lot of blood sugar, which is going to require your body to produce a lot of insulin. It's just going to make your insulin resistance worse. So you want to be having low carb, because less amount of glucose means less amount of insulin, which means your cells can start to recover, they can start to sensitize to insulin, and that's going to have huge benefits. And low GI just stands for foods that take a long time for your body to break down, which means just a less of a rise in blood sugar. Instead of, if you have, if you go pound down a can of Coke and a bag of Skittles, that's going to cause a higher peak, which means a lot of insulin. So we want low GI carbs, things like brown rice, sweet potato, because those foods are going to have a less of a peak, which means less insulin. Better sustained energy. And at every meal, I want you to be thinking protein first. Protein is satiating, it keeps you full, and it's going to slow the rate of your blood sugar spike. So lean meats, chicken, turkey, eggs, lean cuts of beef, fish, wonderful protein sources. terms of your exercise, I really want you to be starting to do resistance exercise. So a lot of women are scared to do resistance exercise, things like weights, because for the last 20, 30 years, you've been told that men do weights. And if you do weights, you're gonna look like a man. It's not the case at all. We know that resistance exercise can improve insulin sensitivity by 24% over 12 weeks. That's huge. So you want to be doing a lot of resistance exercise, whether it's 2, 3, 4 sessions a week where you're doing weights, kettlebells, dumbbells, resistance bands. And you want to be combining that with HIIT exercise, so high intensity interval training. So short bouts, high intensity followed by rest. So an easy one is, go to a park, you run as fast as you can for 10 seconds, rest for 30 seconds. Repeat, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. You do that for 10, 15 minutes. The good thing about HIIT is it should only take 10 or 15 minutes, no more longer than that, because you can't sustain high intensity for longer than that. So 10, 15 minute workouts, perfect. Sleep, as I mentioned here, sleep is a symptom of insulin resistance, but sleep also worsens insulin resistance. So it's a double header here. So you want to be focusing on maximizing your sleep, and you may need to create yourself a sleep routine. What does that look like? Go to bed at the exact same time every single night. No ifs or buts. Wake up at the same time every single morning, even on the weekends. Never hit snooze. Same time every morning. And at night time, you want to be making and putting your body into a state where it's getting tired. So turn the lights off. Get off your phone an hour or 2 hours before bed. Don't touch your phone. Turn the brightness down on the TV. Make your environment as dark as possible to signal to your body that it's nighttime, that you need to sleep. And you may look at a supplement like melatonin, which is a sleep aid as well. But you want to be creating that sleep routine. An hour to 2 hours before bed, put your body in a state where it knows sleep is coming. Turn the lights off, get off your technology, sit down, rest, restore, same time every single night. And then you want to be looking at supplements. So there's some supplements that has been shown time and time again to really help insulin sensitivity. And inositol is by far the most well-proven and research backed, so myo-inositol, NAC, N-acetylcysteine, and also berberine. I didn't write it here too, but magnesium is also a really, really beneficial one. If you're looking at those, we stock these in our store. Berberine, I haven't found a supplier I truly like just yet. But have a look at this. So 7 out of 10 women will have insulin-resistant PCOS, right? These are the 3 ways in which insulin and insulin resistance are driving your PCOS symptoms, which are here. Your goal should not be to just lose weight. It's a horrible goal, right? Your goal should be to improve your insulin sensitivity, and you do that by focusing on these 4 daily behaviors. So if you have any questions at all, let me know below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Really hope you found it educational. Ask me as many questions as you want, and I can't wait to see the results you're achieving.